Das Thema, was ich bekommen hatte, war ja im Prinzip der neue Treibstoff. Daten, Qualität, Herkunft und ich sag mal, wer liefert die besten Daten? Kann man natürlich drüber streiten. Treibstoff, dachte ich mir, passt eigentlich ganz gut in die heutige Welt zum Thema Automobil. Treibstoff wird immer teurer. Wir haben Elektroautomobile, aber die fahren halt noch nicht überall rum. Und so ein bisschen experimentell ist auch das Thema Daten. Und since it's an international panel, I forgot, sorry, I have to switch into English. Sorry, Alain. And so what I said is I compared the theme a little bit with the car industry. So the fuel gets more and more expensive all the time. We are experimenting with electro cars now, but it's not the case that we see them everywhere on the street by now, maybe in a couple of years from now. And I think same stage as with targeting. It's somehow part of our online life. But I think big things are coming. Maybe we take the time and do the elevator pitch, so everybody introduce himself to the audience and give us a short introduction about his company, just very briefly, because I think we don't know each company here and no solution. So do the USP pitch. That's me. That's what I do better than everybody else. And so I will give you maximum 2 minutes. Maybe you start.
My name is Philipp Westermeyer. I work for Metrigo for 3 months now. So we are in the market for 3 months as a DSP. And we are German DSP, meaning we are guys that build the bidder ourselves. No app nexus, no IP on web, just pure proprietary technology. And we think that this is going to help us differentiate ourselves from a lot of other players in the German market that also position themselves as DSPs, but we think we can be a lot more flexible in terms of commercial terms and targeting and integrating data from advertisers. And that's in our mind, it is only possible if you have all the technology in-house, and if you're right here where your customers are. So we are, in the first step, a local player for the German market, and remember us as flexible and very easy to use in terms of commercial terms, no fixed fees, no yearly commitments, nothing of that. We want to attack data warehouses of flexible and aggressive e-commerce shops.
Okay, thanks. Christoph.
My name is Christoph Bauer. I've been in the online marketing industry for years now. Had a lot of experience together with some fellows here with Wunderloop, where we built some technology for targeting and where we thought about what would be the next steps, so how to include data. And we started on that. We did that with audience science as well. And D3 Media, the agency, is the next model to further develop it, which I'm representing here right now.
Mm-hmm.
Good evening. I'm the happiest person tonight because everybody talks about data, and this is what I'm doing. So I'm the managing director of a company called eXelate in Europe. And we basically help companies who have a lot of data to monetize this data. So we do that in 2 ways. The first way is to provide them with a technology that help them sell the data to the buyers. So typically in the US, we help Nielsen or a company like MasterCard, who, as you can imagine, sit on a lot of transaction data from the user to sell their data. In Europe, we signed with Axiom, an offline company. So those guys have a lot of data, and they will sell it online now because they realize there's a big demand for data. The second business model we've got is a marketplace, a data exchange, where small and medium publisher can push the data. We mutualize the data from those different publishers, and we make it available to the buyers.
Hi, my name is Kasper Skou. I'm also an ex-Wunderlooper. Had the opportunity to really come on a tremendous learning experience there. And then I decided to move on and found my own company in the space. The founding hypothesis behind our company Semasio is that for more than a decade, we've been taking a too simplistic approach to profiling and targeting. an approach that basically means we don't collect enough data about the users to really make targeting successful long term. And one of the major problems is that the approach we've taken introduces a heavy subjective element, a human interpretation into the equation, which means that we then get a skew. We're not able to target in a quantitative and objective fashion. This is what we're trying to change with Semasio. We started out very much as a demand-side platform, a demand-side targeting platform, but then the supply side educated us that they needed just as much. So now I guess we're a next-generation targeting platform. And obviously that means that we deal very heavily in data and the ability to really collect data, massive amounts of data about users, turn it into information, and then turn it into action in a very simple way, even when dealing with very large amounts of data.
Hello, my name is Andreas Schwibbe. I'm CEO and founder of Adnologies. Adnologies is a technology vendor for ad serving technology, and we have a platform technology which is modular, and we are very successful with our product level retargeting technology. Our retargeters collect data in order to do their own retargeting, but they are not able to use all the data they collect. They just use about 10% of the data they collect, and the 90% overhead we thought should be available to others, and therefore we invented another product which is our data exchange platform, where the retargeters are able to monetize this overhead data.
Yeah, thanks for the short introduction. So I'm also an ex-Wunderlooper, and today I had a, how should I say, when Dr. Christian Heinemann told this morning that we have to bring data together to get the best out of it and share it. This was exactly the story we told the market a couple of years ago, but nobody was interested, and politically it was difficult. So the quality of data is a main issue, maybe today or maybe not today anymore, and therefore my question is, if you put the wrong fuel in your car, you don't get along for a big time. So how do you bring quality into data? So what initiatives you are doing, and how do you bring performance for the advertiser and for the agency to show that your data really is better than other data? Maybe start here. So how do you improve your data sets?
Yes, the data in our platform is from the retargeters, and in the first place they use this data on their own behalf. So the data is qualified to be working for their own marketing, and after this, in a second step, they give it to different marketers, so it's qualified by themselves.
So it's pure retargeting. I call it so the Criteo, because it's the most successful company in the space, maybe, with 500 million euros revenue by now, growing like hell. And isn't it not a bit annoying for clients to become observed and to see always the same advertisements once they've been on a page of an advertiser? So what's the reaction?
Of course, that's a problem, and this is easily to be solved with technology, because we are an ad technology company. We offer, of course, frequency capping, which Criteo doesn't.
So it's just a frequency cap, so easy it could be. Just a frequency cap solves a lot of problems, I guess. So Kasper, what is the beauty in your business? I didn't get it in the first round. Maybe you can give us a deeper insight. What's the future of, how do you model better data than everybody else here in the future out of your technology? So what are you doing differently, and why is your data performing better than the other data?
Yeah, so what we've been doing for more than a decade now in profiling and targeting is that we've started with a category system-based approach. So we basically create a taxonomy that describes a set of categories that we can then categorize content into. The problem is this is highly subjective. It's created by human beings. It introduces an interpretive element which brings us away from an objective and quantitative approach, which marketing really should be about. So what we've done instead is we've turned it into pure machine learning. So as a user goes to a site and consumes content, we look at that content, we do a statistical analysis of that content to extract the information in that content, the differences that make a difference. We take that and store it in the user profile, and that then turns into billions and billions of data points on on the internet population. Then when you want to turn billions and billions of data points into action, this has to be in a simple way, or it will not work in the marketing reality of today. So you start by what you want to achieve. Do you want to get people to sign up for a test drive in a BMW 5 Series? Then you sample the users that really perform this action. Take 300 of those users and you do a statistical analysis of them that says what is really differentiating these users from the users that are currently not interested in a test drive in a 5 Series. That creates a unique statistical model on that lowest level, data level, and you can then go out and find the statistical twins of those users. So at no point is human interpretation a part of the equation. There is no category system, and there is no hypothesis-driven target creation where you say, I have a hypothesis that this is the right target group for achieving this particular purpose.
So Alain, you have really solid data. This is what you mentioned.
Yeah.
And how do your advertisers feel about that? And finally, in the end game, how thinks the consumer about it if his credit card company, you mentioned credit card company, is using the data to sell it to everybody in the world? So I would immediately stop dealing with this credit card company. So public perception and also from an advertiser perspective, being Nestle or Volkswagen dealing with such data, I could imagine is a bit complicated. It could also hurt your brand. So how is the I think your data is most solid, what I got from this discussion, because it's clear and obvious, but what are market reactions? So how do you feel the advertisers about it?
Yeah, there's two questions in your question, really. The first one is, do I want to sell my users' data? First question, and a lot of publishers are being very conservative on that. The other side of the business is to say, well, at the end of the day, this data offline, for example, is very, very used. So why don't I use it online? My bank manager, she knows exactly everything about me, right? And when I get a letter in my post, I mean, a lot of offline companies have a lot more information than what we currently do online. So the offline world of data is new to us because we're digital native, but I mean, it's amazing what offline companies are doing. So I think at the end of the day, companies who have data have to realize what they want to do with it, and what you have to understand is data on the web is anonymized data. So it's a cookie-only information. We don't have the name, we don't have the telephone number, we don't have the email address. Everything is completely anonymized.
One question, if I see my family, we have an iPad, but there are 4 people in my household and everybody using the iPad. So how do you divide between me, my son, and my daughter and my wife? So.
Well, it's basically, when you log in, typically I share...
I don't log in if I go to Spiegel or something like that.
Yeah, so that's why it's a real-time system, because if people are logging from one publisher and then logging to another publisher, and it's my wife who did it the first time and me the second time, I'm logging as a different user, so in real time, I know that the user has changed. But I mean, at the moment, we see more and more devices are used by unique people, like your mobile phone, for example. You don't hand it over to your friend most of the time. So there's less and less usage of sharing things, because there's more and more computer.
Yeah. So my family may be special. So
well, the iPad is special because the iPad usage is on the sofa, right? So
yeah, but I couldn't afford 4 iPads, so it's difficult. Christoph, so what's your take from an agency perspective? You're also providing technology. So how do you feel if you educate your clients about such data Alain is offering? How do they behave? And do you think it's good to support campaigns and create brand awareness and performance? Maybe it's obvious to create performance, but what's with brand perception?
Well, I think when we started to use data years ago, the first point was to look at behavioral data. So simply click streams. So everybody who clicked like 5 times on automotive pages must be interested in buying a car, which is, well, not true, not necessarily true. And I think the learning over the last years was that just using behavioral data is not enough, and it doesn't really work. So additional data is needed, and right now, on a big picture, I think we are, as an industry, in the status that we are trying to collect data like age and gender. And if we have that data on the solid base, then we are quite confident that we can work with that. But looking into future, there's a lot more data, and if we look especially at the offline industry, there's so much data which has been used offline, and where the people know how to use the data, where we in the online business have not learned how to use this data, and we don't have the data yet. So there I see a big trend, and we are working through to get this data as well, this offline data online. I think there's a big trend, right? But we should never forget that, and that's maybe more the agency perspective, although I'm not directly in the agency, but we should always look at that it really depends on what the advertiser wants. So it depends on the campaign, which data is really good and which data is needed.
So Philipp, I learned today a lot about DSPs, real-time bidding, and so on, and asked myself at the end of this day, a solid ad server with a good algorithm built in could optimize like hell. Where's a big difference? So maybe you can educate us in couple short sentences and educate us where is the big difference between RTB, DSP, and the intelligent ad server system.
I was prepared to say something about data as well, since everybody's talking about data.
We're talking about data. So an ad server today creates tons of data, and he plays with algorithms to improve campaigns. And then you have the human being who's doing the nitty-gritty details on it. But we are playing always with data in our industry, right?
Yeah, and I think it's for the performance-oriented players in this market, for the performance industry. Me looking at all these panels and speeches here today, and I have the feeling that data is in danger to be overhyped, in my mind. I hear it all the time. Everybody's talking about data. It reminds me a couple of years ago, so much talk was about optimization, also data included, but the buzzword was optimization. And then now we look at what's happening in the market. In the end, the one thing that really works on a scalable basis is retargeting. And that's fairly simple. Florian said it this morning already. And I think we shouldn't burn the hope that all the customers and e-commerce shop owners have out there, that data can really help them. It can probably help them, but I look at it much more pragmatic. I'm not so much a believer in the statistical twin approach right now, or in third-party data. I think it's too expensive. Might be nice for branding, but for performance players, the thing that we see, that we hope we can actually harvest, in terms of harvesting the lowest hanging fruit after retargeting, is working with the data that is in the data warehouses of all the shops. And it's different every time. So you talk to a shop with a different model, whatever he sells, whatever industry the shop operates in, and you have to totally find an individual solution. I don't think that you can buy data and then serve every shop out there or serve every business out there. You have to look at every shop at a time and really integrate with whatever the merchant has, with whatever data warehouse, whatever CRM software is in place there. And it's much more complicated than just being able to scale and run away with the whole industry. You have to really concentrate on one shop at a time, I think, and look for individual solutions. Sometimes it can be simple things. I'll give you an example. We work for a large German community, and what helped was just doing negative targeting. We knew they have so many millions of people already signed up. They know that. They give us the information, and we only target people that are not signed up already. That was like a very simple feature, or a very simple idea, but it lifted performance. But it works only for this certain community and not for all the shops out there. So it's not a big data issue, not very complicated. You have to, in the end, stay very on the ground, stay pragmatic and hands-on, and serve every shop at a time. That's all I'm saying. And I have the feeling that so much of this data, and if I look at all the websites of the companies that are present here and everybody in the industry, it sounds very complex. It's going to give us all a hard time to approach shop owners and really tell them what we are doing. Nobody's going to follow us anymore. You have to be pragmatic and take one shop at a time. That's my pitch.
Okay, thanks, Alain. You want to comment?
I just want to add something about the fuel. There's two types of fuels. You've got the performance one and the branding one. So the problem with branding is you need to reach a big volume of a certain category of audience based on what your advertiser wants. And for that, you need reach and volume and granularity. The second type of objective is improving the performance of the campaign with data. And this is done either manually by your analytic team that try to understand which data works for which campaign, clickers or converters, or you have an automatic engine that takes the decision for you and cherry pick the best data that work the best for this campaign, so you can find the clickers and the converters. Yeah. So that's the best usage of the data today.
I disagree a little bit, but when I talk to brands like Nestle, or even you talk to Apple, and you ask them, do you need targeting? They very often saying, everyone could eat a chocolate, and so why should I target and limit myself? What I need is 100% reach on a daily basis to get it in the brains, because they see 12,000 impressions per day. If you open your refrigerator in the morning, you see already the brands, and you forgot already over lunch that you have chocolate in your house,
yeah, but
and to buy a new one.
And in that case, the data is amazing, because if the marketing director of this brand doesn't have an idea about the audience he wants to target, which is a bit strange if you did a bit of marketing school, what we can do is do an analysis with the data about which people are interacting with the brand, right? So we do a reverse back engineering where we say, well, show this ad, and we will tell you who click on it, who convert on it, or who saw it, right?
Okay.
So it's the best way to discover, finally, your audience if you don't have an idea. Coming back to the iPad, there was a big mistake done by Apple. You know, they thought the iPad would be bought by young geeks. At the end of the day, it's senior citizen in the US, because you could expand and you can read and you didn't need your glasses, right? So in that case, you can find out a lot of things with data and readjust your marketing strategy.
Yeah. Alain, I have one question for you. Do you only focus on branding?
No.
Also on performance?
Of course.
Do you have anybody in the DSP industry that's buying performance data from you and continuously?
Yes.
In Germany?
In Germany.
Who is it?
Aha. He's in the room.
Okay.
So, as we all know, social networks are growing like hell and taking over from the traditional media. You could also say the web is social now. So a website which is not social cannot survive on the internet today. So what's your take with retargeting in social media? Because you have a very active audience, and they always logged on, so they will purely see if they are logged into the social network and they have visited the e-commerce page and they go back to the social network and retargeting works, they will see the same banners they see in the same tab, on the other tab, which is still open. So how do they react on it, and what's your plan for social media? You see it, and you have plans to do something within Facebook, and so what's your take on social media?
We are acting as a technology provider, and you possibly have to ask our clients how they approach this. Right now, I don't see any much action in social media regarding retargeting.
So you just sell the technology, and then you educate your clients how to use it, and then it's up to them to create something out of it.
Correct.
So you do not do any conceptual consulting to them?
No,
so
we don't.
You leave with agencies then?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. Kasper, so what's your take on social networks? What do you think? How you would this improve the quality of the data for your technology? And could you bring better results to advertisers using data out of social networks, or combine that with traditional media sources?
I mean, it's a complicated picture, because on the one hand, I think we can get very good socio-demographic data out of social networks, also with massive reach. On the other hand, some recent studies have shown that actually if you try to use the social graph in order to infer who is interested in a specific message, you get very mixed results. You've got a company like Media 6 Degrees that started out in this space, then moved on from that. You've got basically the biggest scientific study of its sort coming out of, I think, Stanford, that brings this model under pressure. So I think you have some tremendous opportunities with social media, but you have to be careful that you don't jump to conclusions. On my Facebook page, I'm talking about the fact that I like to compose and play music and so on, and I like to do mountain biking, but that I'm looking for a place to go for Easter is not there. That my mountain bike was recently stolen and right now I'm in the market for a new mountain bike is not there. So I think we have to have a tempered approach to this, where we look at what really brings us value and how we actually infer our interests that will lead to a purchase that will lead to us taking the action the advertiser wants right now. That's why I think
this is the strength of social networks, because if you write in your social graph, hey Sven, I had a bad day, they stole my bike, and I would have a semantic crawler, I would know this, and I would know who you are, and I could offer you straight away the new bike. Maybe I know already the brand because you put a picture in, and you wrote about the brand you like. So I know, and we know it from Günther Jauch, formerly he did Stern TV here in Germany, and you have 1,200 data points in Facebook alone per person who's in Facebook, and so there's tons of data available, also very actual data, because we all push everything to the social networks, what we do tomorrow, what we've done last week, how we feel about things. So, and you have no plan to integrate that into your technology? Or?
Sure, of course. I say we just have to take a critical look at what data we take and what we use it for, and not to overrate the social media data and say that that's the be-all and end-all. That's all I'm saying. Because if you look at an approach where you actually analyze the content that's being created by you and by others and so on, this is not different from the approach we actually take on the web to find out what you're interested in right now. The question is, what does that really have to do with social media? Is this just a phenomenon that happens to happen inside of social media but might happen in other places as well? So absolutely, I think it's tremendously powerful. We just have to have a nuanced approach to it. That's all I'm saying.
So Alain, what's your take on social networks?
Well, it's data, right? So you've got
a dream for you, right? So you get everything.
Yes and no, because
shoe size.
No, first of all, you've got offline data, you've got the data that you can get from traditional publishers, you've got social data, that's fine. I mean, the problem is the legality of the usage of the data at the moment, because companies like Facebook, they prefer to keep the data themselves. Right, so
yeah, but that's solvable. So people who open the profile, if you have an open profile at Facebook, Google can crawl you and can read everything down, and so everybody could do that.
Yeah,
you ever approach Facebook, try to purchase data from them?
At the moment, we cannot legally use Facebook data. It's a legal problem, and if anybody using Facebook were going to monetize the data out of Facebook, it's supposed to be Facebook property.
Okay.
Okay.
So, Christoph, what's your thought about social networks and contributor for data?
The most important thing to watch at, I think, there is what is Facebook going to do with the data? How are they going to monetize data? On the other side, I think there are models developing that users, in exchange for an advantage they get, they open their profiles. So they even open the normally closed profiles to some companies, so that there you can collect the data out of these open Facebook accounts, and these might be models where then not on a huge base, but on some user base, you can collect very good data.
Yeah, it's more or less a CRM system for companies, right? The fan page, not now, but maybe in the future. So, as you said, the consumers open their heart to brands and provide their data openly to them, and you can use them if they do this. So, what will be a DSP? What is a DSP doing in this world, in the social world that is coming to us?
In the Facebook world?
Our social world, YouTube, Facebook, you name it, pin it, the new kid on the block. And I think the web in the future will be Huntington Post. So the users create the content, they don't go to Spiegel anymore, they have their own universes. And how do you can play a role in this scenario? Maybe 5 years from now.
Sven, you're asking me questions here. I'm probably not the greatest visionary or vision guy. I try to be a hands-on guy, so all I know about YouTube.
But social networks here today, we have 22 million users using Facebook every day. If you're a media planner, if you want to create a brand, so you have to respect that fact, and you have to play with Facebook, and you have to push your brand message inside of Facebook. Otherwise, you don't get, you cannot touch bases with young consumers anymore. Yeah. And so what would your answer to somebody who joins your door today, client says, hey, I like your concept, how could you help me to improve my campaigns on Facebook? Is there a way already, or you plan this, or you ignore this fact and say that's not our world?
No, I mean, Facebook traffic definitely is interesting. I mean, it's an interesting environment. But in the first place, for us, the first step is to access Facebook, to have it, to sort of have the Facebook ads within reach for us. I mean, it's hard enough to get all the different supply sites, private exchanges, ad networks, all into your system. Facebook is not on our list yet. We are happy that YouTube, for instance, is accessible through the Google Display Network. So that's another social site that we can already reach then, that makes itself more accessible. And we feel that Facebook is not so easy here. Hopefully that's going to change. But as I said before, the first party data is what we believe in. We believe that most or the advertisers have or should have a lot of data already in place within their systems. And that's the lowest hanging fruit. Again, after retargeting, is to make use and really employ this information. And then later on, there can be additional information coming from social networks, coming from all kinds of places. But that's 2 or 3 years from now, I think. That also depends on how what's the strategic vision of the Facebook people. I can't make them do anything, obviously. So we watch what they do. But right now, it's really hard to bet or to hope that they are going to improve your business.
Okay, so last question from my side. If there's a question from the audience, maybe somebody wants to ask something. No, not now. So how do you see the development of the value chains? So if you see that the tools get better and better, and you have a very pragmatic approach, you say it takes a low-hanging fruit, retargeting is a no-brainer, everybody understands, and it works tremendously well, as we know. If I would see there is a simple interface that my mother could use, so everyone in the world outside who want to advertise could use it. And seeing this and the current value chain, to have a creative agency, a conceptual agency, a media agency, a DSP who helps the agency to get the right buying decisions. If you cut this down and say, I just need this nice interface and then I could do retargeting, is it so easy, or could it be that way that advertisers themselves could buy through your platform impressions?
I mean, retargeting is not retargeting. I mean, there's different levels of perfection and of professionalism or advancedness, if that word exists, that I think we'll see in the retargeting world. I think that what retargeting does now is only 5 or 10% of what it can do, maybe 20% of what it can do. I mean, it started with simple retargeting. Now we have all these dynamic creatives.
But keep it simple, so it brings an immediate effect. If I'm a retailer, and as I know, the majority of the clients of Criteo are very small clients, so not Nestle and such big brands, so small retailers, and they will feel the impact. They switch it on and they see numbers coming. I mean,
it's with Google remarketing; it's already there. I mean, if you, I mean, that's what Google does already.
But Google is complex interface. So
I mean, look at how Thomas advertised for this conference here. I mean, if you went to the d3con website and one time, all the time afterwards, you saw the banners for d3con. That's Thomas doing retargeting, like one guy sitting in his office, spending probably like, I guess, €100, and all of us were reached millions of times. That's how simple it is already with Google retargeting. You know, right, Thomas? Isn't it how you did it? I mean,
but Thomas is an expert. So what do you think about building an interface for these millions and millions of retailers to just give them the ability to book retargeting campaigns? They will feel the impact, and then you could improve the service and do the next level. Do you think this could happen, that somebody brings such a thing to the market? Google is very complex, so no end user can really use it.
I wouldn't say that it's so complex. I mean, Thomas, he's an expert, but he's also not a tech guy. He's a smart business guy, and he can handle this. So I can handle this. I'm not a tech guy. It's not very difficult to advertise for small shops or for small products, such as the d3con D3 conference or similar conference. I did it for my conference the same way. You go to our website once, we find you all the time. Very simple. No agency needed. Nobody needed. We do it ourselves.
Yeah.
The magic starts if you have a shop that's more complex, and if you really need some integration into the shop on different and building different segments of users. If that's what,
Sure.
then you need a partner, and we aspire to be this partner that really helps you in different levels and do the integrating the pixels so they can really cause some uplift.
Yeah.
Thomas doesn't need that because it's just one ticket that he wants to sell and for a limited amount of time. It's easy, but I think if you want to harvest the missing 80% of the retargeting pool or retargeting opportunity, we need, like the retargeting partner needs to be a consultant, not so much a scaling guy. Consulting and thinking about how we can enhance retargeting. That's the next level, and that's what we see right now. That's easy and it's already nice and it fills up rooms like this one, but it's not the end of the story.
Just some figures, very basic. In France, there's about 1,000 advertisers doing display campaign. There's 5,000 advertisers doing with Xanox affiliation program, right? There's 3 million companies doing keyword campaign on Google, right? Yeah. So what we see is, and the reason why display is going to overtake again search, it's just because display now is not only for 1,000 advertisers or 5,000. It could be from anybody. Yeah.
Could you imagine that I'm a shop owner for, let's say, suitcases, and you could offer me people through an easy interface? I could buy
data.
Suitcase searchers or something like that.
Of course, eXelate data is available on Google Ad Exchange in the US. So anybody running a campaign on Google AdX in the US, small company, they can buy our data, right? So it's going to happen in Europe.
What's
soon.
the price model? What will you charge them? No, honestly.
No, I mean, ask Google, right? They're the ones selling it. But I mean, that's as simple as that. Is display campaign is going to become like search. Anybody can do a campaign with data, and it's going to be very, very simple. The interface will be like my mom can do it.
Okay, so easy world, everybody could buy data and targeting. So what's your take, Kasper?
Yeah, but that's not a dream, huh? It's a reality.
It's a reality, yeah. So could also my mom use your system tomorrow?
Yeah, definitely. Because all she really has to do is say, every single ad that I show, I want to turn into data. And then I have to decide what I want to do. Do I want to sell shoes? Do I want to sell test drives in the BMW 5 Series? Do I want to sell cheap flights? Do I want people to sign up for a newsletter? Wherever the people have performed the action you want, that's where you put the little tracking pixel. It automatically collects a sample, automatically creates the statistical model, which is the exact genome of the users that will perform the action that are right now in the market for your message, for your product. And then you go out and you buy it via, for instance, DSPs or directly through our DSP. So that's exactly what we're trying to do. We're trying to take all the hassle while not losing anything on the complexity and the efficiency of the technology, take all the mumbo jumbo out of it and just make it about, let's collect as much information on the users as possible ex ante. And then when you know what you want to achieve, this is when you find out what the discriminating attributes are that set the users that you want apart from the users that are currently not in the market for what you are trying to sell.
Okay, so the perspective is we have an iPad ad everybody could use. You don't need an expert anymore, and you could buy targeted impressions. You could easily gain access to data, and so the world becomes easier in the future, which is a great vision, I think. Do we have questions from the audience?
Just a second. I just want to add one thing. This will work for the obvious data. So we will end up with a technology with an easy-to-use interface, so everybody is able to use, where you can set up your campaigns and use data that is obvious to you. So I want suitcase intenders because they are interested in, yes, but you need the right people to understand where's the additional audience you can address, and therefore you need someone who understands to segment the data you have access to and define a new audience that is for your antennas as well.
I had hoped there is an algorithm that's so smart and telling me the guys. And the funny thing, I've learned about a campaign last week, campaign for a telecom company. Telecommunication company, and they figured out that the binding element of the top users was an Italian what's tiramisu? No, I got it. So the tiramisu, for whatever reason, a majority of the people had a big interest in tiramisu, and they targeted on tiramisu and Italian stuff. It was a Facebook fan generation campaign, and it contributed to a sort of the price. They trilled the amount of fans within a week. Yeah? So it seems to work, what you say. And I dream about such an algorithm who does that and takes this burden from me and just develop.
Sven, it exists already. A lot of ad network today, they optimize the campaign by analyzing all the data they've got to make sure that the next ad is shown only to the people that have a chance to interact with the ad. So more and more network.
Fully agree, but and I think this is a good picture to close this round, is the world becomes easier and not more complex. Okay. And we don't have to study all physics and mathematics to handle the systems. So we can rely on the technology providers sitting here in front of us to delivering great systems to us, so that our world, which is very complex, turns into an easier world in the future with great data underlying all ad impressions, hopefully. So are there any questions? No? Okay, one question, Jens. Take mine.
Danke. Yeah, question for both Alain and Andreas. We a couple of times touched on missing third-party data in the German market. Lots of advertisers or buyers could really use data that's being provided by publishers or advertisers. From your perspective, what's holding back potential data providers to really make a bold step and offer that data in the German market on exchanges like you?
Well, very simple. One is the law, because a lot of people don't know exactly what's going to happen with the law, have some uncertainty on that. Second point is the image. Like Sven said, are my user going to leave my website because they know I'm selling the data? So, everybody know that Facebook use the data, everybody use the data, right? Yahoo, Google, everybody does that, right? So, so perception of the market. And the third thing is, it's really business. A lot of people thought there was no demand for the data, and after today, they will probably realize, if they haven't yet, that the data is something for which there's a big demand, so that they should position themselves as making money with the data they've got, and realize they're sitting on a treasure. They have a big asset with data, and they need to do something with it.
Is that a German phenomenon, or do you see that in international markets as well?
No, that's international.
I agree with you. It's a big decision you have to take if you want to sell your data, and especially for brands with huge scale that have huge amounts of data, they really think, especially in Germany, about give access to this data. And that's an issue we just can solve with giving them trust and having legal surroundings that give us a safe perspective.
I think maybe we have to say goodbye to Christoph. He has a very important meeting, so he has to leave us right now.
Friday night. Whoa.
Girlfriend?
So yeah, but I don't want to stop. You wanted to answer, right?
I wanted to ask, Alain, you said here last year, did you see any evolution, any progression in the German market at all?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What changed?
What changed is people realize that there's a lot of money to be made. So it's the trigger, right? If you have a lot of data, if you have a big name, you can make some serious money, right? So people at the beginning were saying, oh, is that politically correct? Is that legally correct? And now, is that money correct? And you've got 3 ticks in the box now. So it's a real business, right? And if companies like MasterCard, Axiom, Nielsen, if all those guys are going into it, it's because there's money to be made.
compared to last year, the number of attendees changed as well.
Yeah. Okay, is there any other question? Otherwise, I want to... There? One question? Okay.
I have a question for Alain. Do you use any tracking techniques other than cookies?
No, we can't. The thing is, eXelate works with the biggest advertiser and the biggest data owner.
Okay.
So if we are an illegal element in the chain, it doesn't work. So we've got to be legal. So our enemies are typically the guy not playing the rules, right? So company using flash cookie, for example, right?
And what about fingerprinting?
Well, anything that is legal is fine, So that's the best thing to do. We need to protect the people that give us the data they've got, and we need to protect the people that are buying our data. So everything we do must be legal.
Why I'm asking this is because we used the example of iPad several times, but how do you do tracking on the iPad then?
The tracking on iPad comes to Apple. So Mr. Apple keeps the data for himself.
Yeah, but since...
Like Facebook, so...
Yeah, but since the iPad doesn't store cookies...
yeah, that's why they find ways. People are very clever in the sense that they know there's a treasure with the data, so they all need to protect the asset they've got, right? So there's a war on data behind, the scene that, Facebook was very open about sharing data, and the more it goes, the less people can deal with the data, right? Because there's money to be made, so that's a reality.
I agree, but the conclusion would be that you cannot track users on an iPad.
Well, let's take another example, because the data, when it's digital, is not only applicable to the web. So all the information we have accumulated, we can use it on mobile, we can use it on interactive television. So there's also digital channel that the data, once it's digital, can be used for. So mobile, Android, for example, you can drop cookie on Android phone, right? On Apple phone, you cannot. Right?
Yeah, it's disabled by default, but you can enable.
Yeah, well, so, people are trying to, keep the data for themselves.
Yes.
That's the reality.
Okay.
Is there any other question? No? Okay, then thank you very much for your attention at this late stage of the day, and have fun.